Hey guys, and welcome back to Brexit. Brexit England, Northern Ireland, and Eastern Europe. And in Brexit England, our stock market, once the envy of the world, once the most successful, basically, we probably was, we must have been. I mean, in Europe, right? We had the the best stock market in Europe. The richest stock market within Europe, right? And if we look around the world, we're probably fourth or fifth, right, as having the richest stock market in the world. And now, right, we have dropped off from being Europe's best stock market. And it just so happens, right, that the closest person to us, right, 6 years ago, right, we was 1.5 trillion ahead of them. The closest person to us, which was the French. Theirs was the closest to us, right? We was the best. We was the best, right? The most sought after, right? The go-to if you're going to Europe to do business. Our stock market was the go-to guy. But for some reason, 6 years ago, right, something happened in this country, right, and right, that has had a dramatic effect, right. It's just so much so, right, that our stock market, right, has lost over 1.5 trillion pounds. I don't think I know that Brexiters are not, they haven't got the education to work out what sort of money that is. And the truth is, yeah, that most people don't really care, Brexiters, because they're stupid racists. Yes, I hear you saying that, and that is true. Because if you can understand, right, the damage what you have done to a country where you people who have no clue what they was voting for. I never knew what I was voting for. But something, right? As soon as like David Cameron started touting this, I done a little bit of reading up on the EU, and any fool, and as I said, I'm a fool who was howling at the moon, for 6 years. Well, it's been 6 years now. I'm still howling at the moon. But telling people, this is the effect. What's going to happen? It's going to destroy the economy. And I mean, obviously, you do realise, right, that when 1.5 trillion goes out of your economy, out of your stock market, you understand what kind of devastation that does to a country. You realise, right, that the Luftwaffe bombed the motherfucker twice. 1940, I think 1902. They bombed it twice. The Luftwaffe, and they never done this much damage. Imagine that. The motherfucker got bombed, right, in the height of war, and they never done more damage to the stock market than the people of this country has done to the stock market. If you really want to know, yeah, what a trillion is, yeah, you've got to understand, yeah, it is 1,000 billion. Right now, right, that they're talking about a hole in our economy, right, and they're talking about 50 billion. Well, a trillion is 1,000 billion. So that's like you having £10,000, right, and me taking £50 out of it. Right? Now you've got to count it note by note. How do you think, right? Unless you got one of those machine things, right? How long do you think it's going to take you to count £10,000 by hand to see if I've taken a 50 out of it? Well, that's what 50 billion is like out of 1.5 trillion. It's virtually nothing out of that type of money, right? And look what the 50 billion, the effect that's had. So you can imagine what they're really covering up. Because I mean, they've got to cover these type of figures up. I mean, they can't really tell you. I mean, what's happening now, obviously, is, there's a lot going on now, and they're seeing all the repercussions of what they've done. And this 1.5 trillion, because now, the French are, I think they're about 4 or 5% ahead of us. So that's hundreds of billions of pounds, of pounds or euros ahead of us when it comes down to the stock market. And ours, if you notice, our economy is dying. It's dying slowly. It's dying. It's going for a very, very slow death. Our economy. That's just a fact. That's what's happening, right? But it's the people of this country who has brought it on themselves. And you see, it's all the time. I'm telling people about this racist gene, what these people have been born with, right? And I'm not lying. Right, it's the truth. These people are born with a racist gene, because something. Even knowing that this country, what they've done to the stock market of this country, that's the stock market. That's not individual businesses. That's the stock market that's lost that. Other little individual businesses have been, they've been shafted, absolutely shafted. Right, and this, right, them telling us now, oh well, something, right? Our stock market, right, wants, the envy of the world. It's not anymore now. It's not the envy of the world now. Right? And unfortunately, the status that we have lost, we can never get back. And welcome back to By Any Means Necessary. Thank you so much for all your messages sent me, and a special thanks to everybody who signed up to my channel. I feel so blessed with so much people that signed up, so thank you so much for that. I'll go through all your messages. I'll answer as many as I can, but I will like all your messages for definite. We're going to go over to America, because we find out some stuff about Donald Trump. Donald Trump was using the security forces, obviously trying to use the DOJ and the IRS to go after his political enemies. And even people who was on the TV saying stuff about him, he was trying to send the DOJ or the IRS after all these type of people. And if you notice, right now, Donald Trump is like complaining that that there are people looking into his antics, his behavior, and all of a sudden, right, if you notice the projection straight away, oh, you're using the DOJ, you're using the IRS to come after me, because that's what he was doing, and he was doing it all the time, and he was going after people who was just criticizing him. People have gone after him because he has committed criminal offences, and he keeps on getting away with it, and now you've got General Kelly, who has come out and said that Donald Trump was using the American security forces to go after people who criticised him. And this could just be like TV, like late night TV hosts and things like that he's trying to send the DOJ after, or he's trying to send the IRS after them. This guy, right, is, I don't understand why they think it's okay to allow him to get away with all of this type of stuff, because you'll just get presidents who come along in the future and think that they can do this. They haven't locked him up for insurrection, but if you notice, all the people, all the minions, all the idiots, the fools, right, the stupidities, as they would say in the Caribbean, right, or the damn idiots, as they would say in Ireland, all of those people are in prison. Even the black Trumper, right, I think he got one of the most severe sentences out of the lot. But then, I saw him beating a police officer with I think I don't think he was hockey stick guy, but he was beating the police officer with something, and I thought to myself, this is how my head was tilted when I was watching him do that, and I was like, wow, I hope he's representing Black Lives Matter. Because Black Lives Matter and Antifa don't get a chance to beat police officers in this way, right? But this black guy, right, he's with a whole heap of white people beating the police, and then he wonders why his ass, right, was on remand since the minute they picked him up, and then he got a large prison sentence. So I say, something, right? That really serves him right, because he's a jam Egypt. President Biden has met with President Xi Jinping, and they were speaking about. I heard them say that something about nuclear war would be a really bad thing. So you don't say, really? You think? But you know, the things with these two, yeah, they have been friends for a long time. They've known each other for a long time, and they've spent a lot of time together, right? So I think that I think when you know when you've got people who can work together, right? And you know, I don't understand what the world's problem is with China, to be honest, because you know the world relies on so much Chinese goods. You know, I know we've got the situation with the Uyghurs, but you know what I would personally, I mean, all these people they speak and say, oh well, you know, what should we do to the Uyghurs? And none of them would come up with a solution. But I'd say, well, you know something, if you know, because I'm very concerned about them, and if I had my way, I would give them free passage to come to the West. That's what I would do. But the people who are in power, right, will just speak from a distance. Say, oh, what are you doing to the Uyghurs, man? What's wrong with you? Right? Why don't you sort the Uyghurs out? Why don't you do something, man? Why don't you help people out? Instead of killing them, cutting off their hair and selling it on the open market. That's what the West is saying, but from a distance. They're not saying to China, listen, if you can't release those people, then you know something, allow them to have free passage to come out. But no. You know, but no, I mean, none of them have even thought about that. They're just all they can do is try and throw it in China's face, right? But they won't say, okay, well, look, we're prepared to do this. None of them are prepared to do anything. Right? I'm not saying, well, you know, going militarily, but just you know, give them free pass, give them a free pass to come out. You know, if they don't, you know, because obviously they clearly probably wouldn't want to stay in China, because it's not like China's going to say, you know what, we're gonna, you know, break off this piece of China, right? And you can have this, and you call it Uyghur Freetown. No, not going to do that. So you know, it's either we, you know, go and help them, or we just do what we always do, you know, shout from a distance, or keep our fucking mouth closed. We're probably going to take the second one, to be honest. Another school shooting in America, in Virginia. I think it's like in Charlottesville, to be honest. And this person, I think he's killed 3 people, and I think he's injured a couple more in that, you know. So I just, you know, I always think to myself, I wonder, right, why don't the Americans just look over at Britain and say, why don't they have school shootings in Britain? Is it because we care about our children more? Yes. Because you can't care about your fucking children if you allow people to have guns, and you know that you have school shootings all the time. You know, this is constant. This bullshit is constant, right? You're allowing people to go and murder your most innocent because you've got this gun culture. Trump, guns, beer, God. Fuck off. Be fucking serious, right? Your most innocent are being murdered by guns, and you've got people who will argue the point. Oh no, we need our fucking guns. Give me a fucking break. You know, I remember one of the. Well, actually, I think the last one we spoke about was a black guy. This is another black guy who's done this one. I mean, this might shake you motherfuckers up, right? To say, you know what, we have a motherfucking black bastard's going to kill our motherfucking children. And you're still not doing anything about it. You're still not doing anything about it. The weakest fucking nation in the world. You think you're strong, but you're the weakest nation in the world, because you can't take guns away from your population who are walking into schools and murdering children. What the fuck have those children ever done to anybody, right, for some bastard to walk into their fucking school and shoot them? They're supposed to be safe in their schools. Safe. That's where they're supposed to be. Right? You know, they should be having, you know, the drills they should be having is fucking fire drills. That's what they have in schools in this country, fire drills. We don't have gun drills where they have to fucking find a fucking cupboard to hide into a fucking cupboard. Give me a fucking break. This is happening too much. You know, I remember the last one, yeah. I said the last one. It wasn't the last one because there's probably been like 10 or 12 in between this, right? But there was a young lad, Ethan Crumbly, right? And you know, because I remember his name because they've got his parents locked up because of what he done. Because they've looked at it and said, well, you know something, yeah? Firstly, right, you knew that your son was mentally ill. Secondly, right, you took him to fucking gun ranges and bought him fucking guns, knowing he's mentally ill. And thirdly, we think that you knew that he was going to do this because you sent him a text message to say to him, Ethan, don't do it. That's what the mum sent, a text message saying, Ethan, don't do it. So they knew what he was going to do. That's why they've got the parents locked up. which I think is, I think is fair enough to have the parents locked up. But I would just work it like this. I'd say, well, Ethan Crumbly, right, is shouldn't be allowed to have a gun in any circumstances at all. So what that means, right, is that Ethan Crumbly's next door neighbours shouldn't be able to have guns. And then we say, something, yeah, still, he might be able to like nick one from. So if we say to everyone down his road can't have a gun, and then say, well, something, but then that still doesn't solve the problem, because there's still people in his local postcodes that will have guns. So well look, we'll have to. All of those people can't have guns, and then you start moving on. You say, well, something, actually, he could go like 10 miles down the road and nick a gun from someone in the next borough. So so we ban gun. So look, he could steal a gun from someone in this state. So the whole state, we ban guns from every motherfucker in the whole state, because Ethan Crumbly might walk into a school and murder some children. And that's how you work it. And then you say, something, actually, how many Ethan Crumblies are there? So why don't we just ban guns in the whole fucking country, right? Unless you live in a really remote part where, you got, fears of animals like bears. I doubt you get tigers, but bears and those type of things, right? So that's when you need the gun. Obviously, I don't really agree with things like hunting and that, because when you got to understand, yeah, that when you teach children to kill things, right, and you've got children who think it's okay to kill little animals, right, then you have you are bringing up people who are potential murderers, people who enjoy killing, right, whether it's little animals or bigger animals. You have to watch those type of people, because it's not normal, right? It's normal for human being to kill something to eat it. That's completely normal. Right? It's just not normal to just kill something, just to kill an animal just for the sake of it. It's not normal. Right, every single hunter. I would like to see every single hunter. Actually, you want to be a hunter. I'd say, well, you know what? You go and take the animal out with this knife. That's what That's how I say. If you want to hunt, I'd give you a little. I'd give you a Swiss Army knife for you to go and to go and take down a tiger or a lion. Take it down with that. Right, and see, because you're a hunter, right? You can't shoot the thing from like 40 or 50 feet away with a fucking scope. That's coward. That's what a coward would do, right? Go on, you want to hunt it, go and face it and hunt it. So another school shooting in America, right? And all I can say to the people in America is, you don't care about your children, right? If you love that gun culture more than you love the children in this school, right? This school was in Virginia, in Charlottesville. You love your gun culture more than children that have been murdered in this school. It's really very, very sad. Jeff Bezos is giving his money away. He said he wants to. Jeff Bezos said that he wants to come off the top. The richest person in the world, because I think he's fourth. So he wants to come off of that, right? And he wants to give, so obviously he's going to give his children some, but he said they're not going to get, his children ain't going to get the whole 124 billion or whatever it is. No, so he wants to give as much of it away as he can. And he's made, well, I say he's made quite a good start, because obviously it's just a small dent. But he gave Dolly Parton £100 million. Right, and a lot of people don't know about Dolly Parton, but Dolly Parton's a real philanthropist, right? She. Very, obviously she's been very lucky. She's born very beautiful, with an absolutely beautiful voice, right? But the thing is with her, yeah, she is just an absolutely beautiful person, right? Within her attitude and how she lives her life. She's given away so much to charity. She gave a company like £1 million to help develop the vaccine, right? So so he's given her £100 million for her to disperse to charities as in how she likes. But there's been, I always remember, I can't remember, something. There was a philanthropist called guy was a steel magnate, something Carnegie, something Carnegie his name was, right? But he said, I remember this because he said, yeah, a man who dies rich thus dies disgraced. Something like words to that effect, he said, and it always stuck in my mind. Do you know what I mean? Because he gave away like, I mean, what probably would have been probably about £1 billion in today's money, right? Because he did, he died, he was born in the 19th century, but he died in the 20th, sometime in the 20th century. He died, I think, from memory, I think it was probably around Andrew Carnegie, that's what his name is, Andrew Carnegie, and he was a steel magnate, and he died around 1920, from between 1915 and 1920. You know what's in my mind? 1919 is in my mind, and that's really strong in my mind because I think I've read quotes from him. I don't think I've read his book, but I think I've read quotes from him because that's what I've read from his thing was a quote, right, where he's actually said that, a man who dies rich thus dies disgraced, and it's always stuck in my mind. But Jeff Bezos giving it all away. Rishi Sunak, I mean, I was so proud of Rishi yesterday. He sat there, yeah. If you saw the glare he was giving Sergey, I thought he was going to go and rugby tackle him because Rishi Sunak was there bursting out of his shirt that was made for a 12-year-old boy, of course, right? But he's there bursting out of his shirt, glaring at Sergey Redrow. And I thought, well, seriously, Rishi, you know that your wife, right, is taking £11 million a year out of Russia, right? You do know that. Because her dad's company is still operating in Russia and she's got like a 1% share or whatever in that company. And her dividend is worth around £11 million a year. And that's what she's been coining in, right, while she's been sat in Downing Street, while, right, the British government are telling us, oh, well, it's all about Russia's aggression is the reason why we're in this state. Now, the reason why we're in this state is because, you know what, our stock market's lost over 1.5 trillion. But that's another point, right? But, the hypocritical nature of these people. You've got Boris Johnson, who's whacked Sergey, who's whacked, what's his name, Lebedev or whatever his face is, right, in the House of Lords. Made him a fucking policy maker, right? KGB connection, but he's a fucking policy maker in this country, right? And these people will, you know something, right? And they said, oh, look how Jeremy Corbyn was towards the Russians. Oh my God. Could you imagine, right, if Diane Abbott, right, was taking £11 million, or Diane Abbott's husband was taking £11 million. In fact, if Jeremy Corbyn's wife was taking £11 million from the Russians, could you imagine? I mean, it wouldn't even be, listen, you don't go after a man's wife, yeah, because you know what, her things is separate from his, so don't even bother go after a man. How you going after a man's wife like that? No, they wouldn't be saying that about Corbyn. They'd be saying, you know something, right? He's look at him, he's wearing a fucking Russian hat. I don't even know how these people how they even put it through to get away with it. Just, seriously. It's, you know what I mean? Yeah. So Rishi Sunak, his household, right, is taking an extra £11 million from the Russians every year, while he sat there looking at Sergey Lavrov as if to say, you know what, I want to fight you over your aggression towards Ukraine. Seriously, these people are good. And get ready, for £2,000 a year council tax. Well, what do you expect? 1.5 trillion hole, right? Let's go for the bigger figure. Let's forget about the £50 billion hole what they claim that Liz Truss has put in, because Liz Truss must be looking at things and stuff. You know about the 1.5 trillion, right? 1.5 trillion, right? So you really going to look at me and say, no, Liz, you can forget it. It's a tiddler. What you people have done, because you're racist motherfucking fools. So what you have done to this country, right, because of your racism, because of your bigotry and your xenophobia, 1.5 trillion. And now, right, you're facing £2,000 a year. That's beyond, that's going to be an average. £2,000 a year, council tax. That's what's been bandied about. So we don't know if it's actually going to happen. 2 councils have claimed that they're going to go bankrupt. I know one of a council in Kent must be one of them. They claim they're going to go bankrupt because what's been happening. These are Tory councils as well. But you know what's been happening. The government have been starving these people of money. But look. Be serious, right? This country went for Margaret Thatcher. And Margaret Thatcher said, you know what, sell off all the houses, but she told the councils, don't build no more houses. Right? And the people in this country looked at that and thought, that's good government. So, when councils are going bankrupt, right, look in the fucking mirror if you want someone to blame. Look in the mirror because you continuously voted against your own interest, right? And now you're really getting your comeuppance. And me? I'm laughing because I'm saying, something, this is some motherfucking African payback because these motherfuckers stole £19 trillion from Africa, so 1.5 trillion as opposed to 19 trillion. I'm sure you can see the difference. That's why I'm laughing my fucking head off, because it really serves these people right in this country because they're so fucking racist. That's why this has happened. 1.5 trillion. I'm going to keep that figure going because it really does serve the people of this country right. And yes, I am gloating, because it serves the people right for being racist idiots. And let's speak about some Brexits, because I think we should, because I've gone well over on this video. And I didn't even have much stories on here, but I've still gone well over. But I think it's the Virginia story, because that's really annoyed me. Do you know what I mean? Just knowing what's happening in America all the time, it's constant. And then the 1.5 trillion, because that's, I don't think people can understand and get their head around those type of figures, because that's just ridiculous, right? For the last 6 years, and no one can say, oh well, it's got nothing to do with Brexit. Yeah, okay. The only way you can say that, yeah, is if you've fallen down and banged your head and you was riding a fucking chopper. The UK has had to scrap plans for its own kitemark. Really? Now this is something that I was saying this because it was a pointless thing anyway. I don't know what they was thinking. They were going for a fucking UK kitemark. Yeah, to use in the UK. It's not going to be no use anywhere else. Probably in throughout the rest of the world. But their standards are different. The EU keep very high standards. So they'd be like, well, you can either adhere to our kitemark, or what you can do is piss off. Those are your two choices. That's what the EU would have said to us. One of the biggest independent cheesemakers has had to sell their business because they was losing £600,000 due to Brexit. I'm quite sure that people knew exactly what they were voting for when they voted for that. But did they? Because George Eustace has come out and said, something, the Australia deal is a whole heap of crap. It's a massive cow's pact. The Australia deal. And just a couple of weeks ago, I'm quite sure he would have been defending it while he was in the cabinet. He'd have been defending it, but now he's not in the cabinet. All of a sudden, oh my God, it's the worst deal that this country has ever signed. But obviously, Liz Truss signed it, and luckily for Liz Truss, that got this bitch straight into into 10 Downing Street. Because of that motherfucking deal, right? And all the time I was saying, something, yeah, you do understand that you've destroyed our farm industry in this country. You've destroyed our farmers. And you got Jacob Rees-Mogg saying, oh no, this is a great deal for my farmers. That's what he was saying, for my farmers. George Eustace, right? He was from DEFRA. When that deal was put through, he was from DEFRA. He had every opportunity to come out at that time and say, listen, whoa. This is not a good deal for this country, right? Gonna fuck up our farmers. This man's an ex-farmer, right? And you've got people like, Jacob Rees-Mogg saying, oh, well, it's brilliant for my farmers, right? After he moved his business interest into fucking Ireland to make sure that he could still have a footprint in the EU. And the farmers, right, the stupid ass farmers, right, who voted against their own interest because a lot of them voted for Brexit. How stupid have you got to be? I think, right, that what a lot of these farmers have been doing is they've probably been eating pig swill, right, and it's gone to their fucking brains. Right? Because we must have a lot of farmers in this country who are really stupid to have voted for a Brexit deal, right? To vote for Brexit, full stop. How stupid have you got to be, right? Knowing that you rely on the EU and you're going to vote to leave that shit. without having anywhere else to send your motherfucking goods. How stupid have you got to be to have voted for that yourself? And now George Eustace has just come out and said, you know something, it's the worst motherfucking deal since the person opened the motherfucking last boxing Deal or No Deal. Right? And it was either 1 million or 1,000, and they got the 1,000. Worst box ever. Anyway, guys, look, I'm going to have to bow out of here because I've got 30 minutes, man. And I didn't really, 10 minutes over when I haven't even got that much stories. That's ridiculous. This was supposed to be 20 motherfucking minutes. But I wanted to do this video today, yeah, so I didn't have to, so I didn't have to double up on motherfucking Wednesday. And how's that gone for me? Not very well. So anyway, guys, look, I'm going to bow out of here because this, my friends, is by any means necessary. I'm GMC John Ribbs. It was really nice to speak to you guys. Comments below.